Grandma and Grandpa's Garden, Class 4.
Hi. The last time we worked in the garden, we finished our spring planting and we looked at the seeds that had already sprouted. So now it's time to check in the garden again and to do some weeding. So let's go down and see how the plants that had just sprouted the last time we looked at them, we're going to see how they're doing now.
We can look here and see that the onions have grown quite a bit. Look over and see the radishes. They've also grown quite a bit. You can see these are the baby leaves, the leaves that first come out. And then after those come out, later, these other leaves, they seem smaller now, but they're of a different shape, a little more rigid, have more ridges. Here's a better example. These are the baby leaves. They've grown pretty big. And pretty soon they'll fall off, and these adult leaves will get bigger and take over. Here we have Swiss chard. Last time we checked in, Swiss chard had not grown at all. But now we see Swiss chard. Looking over at the peas, we find they've grown quite a bit as well. They aren't quite grabbing a hold onto the fence, but they will. And if you look closely, you can see these little tendrils. It looks like a little hook. Those are going to grab a hold of this plant, grab a hold of this fence and help them grow tall. But what else do we see? We see lots and lots of weeds. Here's some weeds. All the stuff we don't want. A lot of really good gardeners will be out here every day and pulling up those small things, but as is so often the case, we've let this get ahead of us. So what we're going to do is start off with a tiller. Here is our tiller. Sometimes we call it a cultivator, which is really what we should call it now, because what we're going to do is cultivate the garden. We're going to turn up some of those weeds that we saw. And the cultivator is really just a small version of the rototiller that we had before. You may remember that rototiller that I had ridden on. Before we started the rototiller, I had shown you the tines that, such as these, that turn over the soil. So this is a smaller version of the same thing. It's so small that we can pick it up and handle it and carry it and run it. And that's what we're about to do.
Okay, we're now going to start the cultivator. It's a pull start, which means I pull this rope to start it. It's going, like the rototiller, this is going to be very noisy. So I'm going to start it. It's going to make a lot of noise. You'll see how I turn some of this over, kick up some of the weeds, and then finish the job later. So here we go. This is what the garden looks like after I've cultivated with that machine in between the rows. But we have another problem. You can see that it's gotten most of the weeds here. It's turned these weeds over and so that they're no longer in our garden, but we didn't get the weeds that are closest to the plants. Here's this one. Here's our peas. You see, I couldn't really run that machine too close to the peas, or over here to the Swiss chard. This is a better example. You can see this baby Swiss chard. See this? These are the baby Swiss chard growing. This is a weed. The cultivator didn't get it. The only way to get those weeds that are close to the plants is to pull them out by hand. So that's what I'm going to do next. I've got a little seat here, or kneeler. I can sit down, and I'm going to go through each one of these rows and pull out by hand the weeds that the cultivator did not get. And at times you can see uncover some of the plants that maybe that we want to grow, that maybe the cultivator threw some dirt up over.
Hope you've enjoyed our weeding and cultivating. Until next time then, this is the end.